There is so much medicine in chanting. The songs and the prayers are so potent. The medicine is so potent. It cuts through your soul. I feel like it goes through, it penetrates deeper than anything when you are in prayer and in ceremony. And a kupuna chants, and you hear those prayers, you feel it. You feel it. You know, you feel those prayers. Even without understanding what they're chanting about, or, you know, you feel it because it goes with other people and other cultures that also chant. There is something to it that is deeper and mysterious, you know.
Peace and blessings, soul family. Adam Jackson here with another episode of the Sacred Sons podcast. However, this is not just any episode. Today we have a Kumu. We have a lineage carrier. We have a ceremonialist. We have a Kumu of the art of Hula with us. Her name is Kumu Anaisa Kalauokekupukupu. Kumu, my sister, we work together at Remembrance. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
I am very good. Thank you for having me, Brunkle, which is brother and uncle for everyone else that's wondering what Brunkle is. We have combined that at Sacred Sons, so it's a nice way to really blend ourselves with the brothers. So thank you for having me, Uncle Brunkle.
Yes, and sister, auntie. You know, I appreciate so much how you carry the ceremony, and how when we collaborated, so much magic happened when we brought the men and the women together. And you're such a big part of that, and especially bringing through the dance, bringing through the hula for our sisters. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And before we do, I'm going to invite us to take a deep breath in for ourselves. And Kumu Anaisa, on this beautiful day, what is most alive within you?
Well, there's a lot, actually. I'm very happy to be alive, to be here. I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful that the fires have slowed down in the Los Angeles area, you know, where a lot of our lands are. But I'm just so happy to be here and grateful to be invited and being welcomed.
Yeah. A part of where you live is near the Topanga area, yes?
Yes, that is one of the places that I do also take care of and live. And a few different places. I am a caretaker of the land in Topanga by the ocean, up in the Crestline area, up in the mountains, and in the Hesperia area in the desert area. So all three areas, I love them all. I go and take care of the land. I feel like I'm always doing yard work, but that is part of what we do as land tenders, taking care of the Aina. And really grateful to be here in Southern California.
Yeah. Just because the fires are present, how has this impacted you, your community?
Oh my
I know
gosh.
a few of your dancing students also either had to evacuate their homes or had lost their homes.
Greatly. We are actually, we're still under trauma, you know. After the fires, there has been a lot of devastation. A lot of homes, as you all know, are gone. A lot of the landscape is gone. A lot of toxic wastes that are lingering around right now also on the land. So big concerns we've had. It was major for all of us, especially for our tiny little community in Topanga. And we're so lucky, you know, even with all the devastation, we're very lucky. And I am definitely part of this movement where we would like to also help rebuild Los Angeles and be more mindful with building materials, what we are using for the future. All these homes today that are built with very flammable materials. So we are pushing this movement where we can use more of the natural, eco-friendly ways of not necessarily fireproof, but at least fire resilience is what we are trying to, the new change. And also with all of our landscape, there's going to be tending to a lot of the landscape and animals. And we have a lot of work ahead of us as a community. So, but we're in there, we're helping,
Yeah, as you're a land steward, you're also a soul tender. And so with this trauma, you have a very specific offering, which is healing through dance. Hula and Huna is what you described it to me as. And I'm curious, how do you become one who is a kumu of this hula dance? And how does the dance help to move some of that trauma that we as human beings have collected on our journeys, whether it's from this one traumatic experience or a lifetime of it?
Yes.
Could you just tell me a little bit about how you see healing through dance?
Yes. Well, to become a kumu, you have to study under a lineage. And I was very fortunate enough to study under Frank Kapu, and at least 15 years ago, became a Kumu Hula and was blessed to open a halau. And with the work of a halau, there are different tentacles that go with it, There is not just the physical part, the dancing part, but there's also spiritual, cultural, there's a lot of different ways of also tending to and taking care of the hula, the sacred songs and the sacred dances. So when we move our bodies, it will naturally release trauma. It's more of that manual movement when you do dance. So a lot comes up with people when they dance. It's not always a good thing, and that's how the processing starts. So.
Yeah. And how about for you? How did it start? How did hula first kind of enter your world? And I know you went through halau and through the protocols, and I want to learn a little bit more about this cultural school. When was your first introduction to hula?
To hula, I used to watch my family dance entertainment. They did a lot of entertainment, but just seeing the dancers, we would go to shows and it was just so exciting. And I wanted to be a part of that. I've always studied dance at a young age, different styles of dance from Tahitian dancing, ballet. So I was always dancing, but there was more to hula. There's a cultural practice. There's a spiritual practice, on top of movement. So I really dove in and studied deeper, the deep hula. And, that's how my journey began. And when I was blessed to start teaching, I felt like that was when I started my practice. And I learned a lot. You really, really learn a lot. You learn about leadership. You learn about your students, Ohana, family. So it's the whole package, and it's a lifelong journey as you keep learning.
Yes. In Sacred Sons, we say leadership does wonders for personal development.
Yes.
We're students always. There's no doubt about that. And when we are in a position to teach others or lead others, it really illuminates our own shadows, illuminates our own greatness, our own gold. And we learn so much about ourselves through that. And so what is the role of a Kumu Hula?
Well, if you really think about it, a Kumu Hula is not just a teacher, we have been given this opportunity to also guide. We have been entrusted in passing down a lot of these sacred traditions and songs and cultural practices that hopefully our students can continue. So there is a lot of responsibility when you do become a Kumu Hula. These are sacred dances, chants, ways of life that we do practice. And so is the students. And it's not just in a classroom setting, Once they are out of a halau, they also continue that practice. So being a Kumu Hula, I am here to help continue, perpetuate, and hopefully some of the students will also continue this lineage that has been passed down to me and to my students and in the future students. So it will continue. It won't die. If I kept it to myself, that's where it's going to end. So I have a responsibility, and not just me, so as my students.
Yeah. And I also experience you as a bridge person, because you're not only taking this Polynesian Hawaiian art form. This is your particular halau. Was this on Big Island?
Actually, we are based in Southern California, but our training was all in Big Island, in the Hilo side, in the Puna district.
Yeah. Yeah. And so carrying this tradition that does come from a cultural place, but being a bridge, I also know that you teach at Spirit Weavers. You have performances, in a lot of areas, and you're working with Westerners, and you're
Yes.
Is that a part of maybe your purpose in keeping this tradition alive? How do you see yourself as a bridge, and maybe even does it sometimes bring you pause, around the cultural tradition and passing it on?
There is definitely challenge. There's challenge teaching the ways of the hula. And we teach them. We just teach them diligently. We go through protocol. I teach exactly what I have been taught. And that is how we continue. And also as being in leadership, we take on that responsibility of making sure that the integrity of your schools, the halau, the teachings are always right, our pono. We may have mistakes and we go back and resolve it, but it's okay. There is a growth there, and there's always growth there. So. Yeah.
And so how old do you think the hula is?
Oh my gosh. I feel that hula is, people have been dancing. I feel like it has been brought on from different countries, and just, from the Maori, from all the different Polynesian islands, really ending in Hawaii. I feel like it's a collaboration of all. So I feel in my heart that it didn't just start in Hawaii. I feel like it's a combination of different cultures to what it has developed today. And as you see the dance today, it has really evolved, Yeah,
I was fortunate to attend. It was a full day of learning the Maori haka, the traditional haka. And what I learned there is it's not something that was only performed going into battle, is kind of its most notable for. But the haka is also about honoring. It's also about, showing respect through the synchronized movements and the powerful masculine and feminine expression. And so how do you see the hula? What is the purpose of engaging in these dances and of the synchronized movements? I've seen it. It's so beautiful, but I also feel like there's a story there being told.
Yes, there's lots of stories, and you embody the stories. You put yourself in the location of the stories, and there's usually hidden meanings, and you represent those stories through movement without speaking. So that is with your body, with your hand gestures, but there's also more to the dance. There are stories and hidden meanings of where it's even come from. So you have to really express that in movement. So it takes a lot of effort for a dancer to express that, not just through your hands, but it has to come from your face, from your body, and really embodying what that story is about. Either if it's talking about the land, war, rain, you have to embody all those stories so the audience can understand what you're talking about. So it's definitely, where when you cannot express yourself through voice, it's very powerful to express only through movement, But then we also have our chants where our stories and our prayers come in. So, hula it's so much bigger. It's really such a big container, It has the cultural practices. You have the spiritual practices. And then you have your classroom practices as a hula dancer, the physical part of it where you have to train. You have to work on your costuming, making costuming, so it's quite involved, and it's just not a little piece of just dance. There's so many parts to it when you do learn the hula, and it's much, much deeper.
Yeah.
But the language is where it starts also. Understanding the language, the stories, visiting these places, seeing where it actually happened. It's so important to do your studies that way also.
Yeah. So could you give me some examples of the protocol? Or some of my experience in this modern culture is that we are a cultureless culture. This current generation, with so many distractions and access to all things, I feel that we've lost certain forms of respect, certain forms of societal protocol, and how we respect our elders, for example. Okay. So that's an example of a protocol that I just generally see missing. We're not doing a great job of it. And so bringing it into this halal school, a cultural school, what are some of those protocols that you feel really create and allow this culture to last over time?
Well, for our halal, we have protocol, and the protocols are really the foundation of our hula. So it's cultural respect. And, what does that mean when you say, oh, what is that cultural respect? It's also respecting your elders, the teachers, what you have been taught, taking care of these stories and these songs with utmost integrity and devotion. So you have this part, the foundation, and also being a leader. When you're a leader, you're taking care of everything. You are in charge of everything. So what does that mean? When things don't feel right, you have to find and see where things are not right. So you could either do one of two things as a leader. You can listen, do something about it, or listen or not do anything about it. And then when you don't do anything about it, those become problems later on. They become bigger. Another part of our protocol that we do is we really practice a lot of the Hawaiian language, the songs, giving them the opportunity to do the research. These students, they have to look up words, understand some of these words and their songs, So there is that part. There is the whole physical training part. So what does that mean for a dancer? You gotta show up. You have to be dedicated. You have to be there. You know, there's also certain protocols of just coming into the halau, as simple as taking off your shoes outside, chanting in, being let in by the teacher, you know. So there are some protocols when you are also coming through the classroom or in the class or the halau. Like what I said, the physical training, there's going to be, you know, drills. There's going to be steps that they're going to be learning in there. They're going to be going through a lot of stuff because some of them, they have to work on posture. They have to work on flexibility. They have to work on core strength. So you have the physical protocol that you have to endure as a dancer.
It's a real full embodiment.
Yes, the full embodiment. And then, you know, there's the spiritual part also. So what is that? That is when you're in ceremony, you know, we would cleanse with salt water, blessing of the space, making sure that the area is clean, teaching how to clean. You know, ceremony space is where you really take a lot of these songs and these prayers and you properly teach them the way you were taught. When you chant, how you sound, the breathing practices in that. So there's also protocol when you do start singing and chanting. Besides ceremony work, right? Ceremony or spiritual work, there's also community work. So what you do for your community, do you share it or do you just keep it within self or in our halau? So we do give out also. We give or show what we do as a halau, either in festivals or in ho'ike, where it's a showcase of different dances. And then when you go a little bit further, you know, you want to learn more about the advanced protocol. And so that's where you cover kapu, you know, maybe a student that has been dancing with you for a very long time now is asking permission if they can teach, right? Because now when they're given the opportunity to teach, that means your lineage is not going to die. It's going to continue. So you have to guide them through that next challenge of being a teacher. So it is this well-rounded, it's a bigger thing when we do talk about hula because there is protocol, there is body work, there's spiritual work, there's cultural work, you know. You would have to learn about the plants. What do these plants do for you? And how are in their representation? And how do they nourish your body? You know, how do they nourish the plant? So we have a big responsibility when you embody being in a halau, being a hula dancer. You know, it's a much, much bigger responsibility. And that's all up to you. You know, is this something that you want to sign up for? And it's really important that they do know protocol as when they're coming in, so they are aware. Not later on. When they're coming in, they're going to understand these are the rules.
Right.
This is how we do things in here. And if they don't know, we have to teach them with love and patience.
I know it takes time, right? Do you see in this generation, maybe even a slight bit of entitlement or like a lack of patience, maybe wanting? I see it in myself first and foremost. And with this next generation coming up, there's so much access to everything. There's a bit of entitlement that we can have anything at the snap of a finger, but this is something that you devote yourself to as a life's path. And there's so much value in something that takes time to really flourish.
Yes, yes. And there is. Unfortunately, that is something that we have to deal with all the time. But we are here to teach them.
Yeah.
And we might have to take them to the side, not in front of everyone else, and really have that deep conversation, And those deep, uncomfortable conversations are necessary because it will really protect the integrity of your space, of your container, not just in a hala or in a school. That's with the family. That is with everything else. So when there is something, especially when we're dealing with entitlement and just any type of problems that do arise, you have to immediately tend to those. Can't really turn your back on it.
Right.
Because it's just going to come up bigger. It will be a bigger problem because you're not going to get the respect from the students. The students are going to feel, because they're going to feel that if there's someone else really entitled in class and they don't feel protected with that, and you don't protect it as a leader. It's really, really important for you to get in there. It's uncomfortable. I've been in many situations where I had no choice but to deal with it. And it's those uncomfortable discussions that will really make you grow. In the beginning, I used to call my kumu and ask him a lot of questions when things are going wrong and when things are going bad, and I absolutely have no control. And he straight out, fix it. No one else can fix it but yourself. Because then the halal will keep that respect. They know you are not supposed to do those things in there. And we just got to keep teaching. That's what it is. And we have to keep working on that. And that's the hardest thing, is really changing. It's listening to some of those instructions to change. So the whole embodiment takes a lot of patience within self. Yeah. When you have to embody being a hula dancer, it's so much.
Yeah. So for, confrontation is a core part of men's work that we provide in Sacred Sons. Maybe you saw a little bit of that at Remembrance and feeling some of the energy, that was cultivated there. So when someone has confrontation or something that's confronting them in their lives, with your framework and your lens through your teachings, like what are some healthy ways to confront challenges, obstacles?
So first, what I always do, because it always comes up, and this is what we have to do. I start with prayer. I start with prayer because I need that spiritual strength to guide me. And I call for a meet. I really take the time to really confront the person, or maybe more. It could be a group, whoever I need to confront the situation. And taking yourself out in a different situation, like not necessarily where you're in a classroom setting. That is not the proper place, because emotions come up, get heightened. So your location and proper space for that is crucial. It's very, very crucial. And I put myself in their situation. I put myself in their situation. And I also would like to see if maybe I am doing something wrong, because I'm human, I'm not perfect. Then there might be something that I am doing wrong, or they're not getting from me. So I ask them, what's up? What's going on? What is the problem here? And I usually tell them, I love you. I care about you. And it's not you that I am not liking. It is your actions. It is the actions usually that I struggle with when I do have a problem in halal or in any situation. So we do talk about it. We talk about it. And what I also do is, after listening to them and understanding situation, that's where I can assess, okay, it's either something happening at home, something happening with self. They're sick, they're not feeling good, they haven't eaten, they're tired, so I am the ultimate scapegoat, or they just don't want to listen. They don't want to listen to authority or someone else that is giving them direction,
Right.
Never been taught. Maybe they were not taught that. Maybe they still have to learn those things, And in my halal, I usually ask them, I go, so what do you think? What is a hula dancer to you? What does that mean to you? Because it's more than just movement. Humility. When you embody being a hula dancer, there are so many things that you have to do to embody being a hula dancer. Humility is the first one, because being a part of something greater than us, that is humbling. Because I am still learning. I know my students are still learning, and that's just part of what we do every day. It's part of our growth. So when I feel that there is disrespect there, the different forms of disrespect, there are also consequences.
There it is. Has to be.
There are consequences that that will happen. So either they have to work on changing themselves in that setting. That's personal reflection. It has to start with self. They may have to, there's also a group accountability, that's with the other students also. There's an accountability, or they might really just have to go, because when there's a loss of mana, that spiritual energy, the integrity is not there, And so when you challenge your teachers, or if you're not in alignment and you do come together and try to make things work, and if you're not, the consequences, you have to go, or maybe we can work things out.
Maybe we can make new agreements.
We can make new agreements. But the problem is, you have to be sincere. There's got to be this, you have to really want to make those corrections within self. And humbly accept those, and no questions. Just take on that responsibility with no excuse. Just own up, and take it on, because then it shows that you are. But the hardest part also that they do is changing, when that's one of the hardest things. You will have the conversation, you've made amends, but then they will say, oh yes, I'm gonna change. It's not gonna happen again, but it happens again. So when it happens again, you just gotta keep reminding. You're gonna be blue in the face reminding, but that's what you have to do in order for your container to be right. And for the flow to be right. Especially if you're getting complaints from not just one person. Sometimes if it's one complaint with, say for instance, another person, that's between the two of them. But then they have another person complaining, and then another person complaining. So now you see it's a bigger issue, not really just one. So I have to step back. I have to look at that situation. I have to analyze this.
To sit in reflection.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm so quick to jump into corrective action that I forget to pause.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Don't react. Let me sit in reflection so I can actually respond to what's happening.
Yeah.
And for me, being in reflection versus being in gotta fix it mode,
Yes.
like I have a tendency to want to fix, as a human being. And so to like curb that energetically and be in the reflection of what's actually happening and what's actually needed. I want to restate what you said just as I heard it, because I think this is very helpful for somebody listening. If you're listening out there and you have a conflict in your life, if there is a hard conversation or a confronting situation in your life, first pray. I love this as a first step. Pray on it, meditate on it, be with it. Then we create the space for the conversation to happen.
Yes.
Then you're going to empathize, put yourself in their shoes, be with the person and listen. And then I heard it's not to make it personal. It's not about the person, but maybe it's about the behavior.
Yes.
So not making it personal, but being specific to the conflict that is present.
The behavior.
Not making it personal and putting it on the act or the behavior. I think this is huge. And then what I also heard in there was determine where like the fracture is, whether that's in their home life or in self or in whatever situation. Be humble, get to a place of accountability and integrity. And I heard in there the way to do that is by being sincere. Get your reflections and then get your container right. How does that sound? That's a good kind of step-by-step way to handle conflict and act consequences. And sometimes for us, that can be the hardest part.
Yes. And also letting them know even with this, we may not see eye to eye, but I still care about you. I care about you. And you have to be real about that. You have to look them in the eye and say, I really care about you. And I want you to be a part of this because we do have good and bad days. Or your ego might be too big and your peers are suffering. Or you're not mindful of what you're saying. You're just blurting out, just saying things here and there, not mindful enough of what it's affecting everyone else around you. So, there's a lot of that, that you have to really, pay attention to. And if you are the one in charge of that container, you have to have hawk eyes and you gotta watch and you gotta listen. And you also have to do. You can watch and listen, but if you're not going to do, you're not going to be respected as a leader. You're going to lose people left and right. And you're going to wonder, whoa, what happened? How come she left? She's such a good dancer. Because you did not keep your container safe. And so when we really take the time and make the decision that there is no disruption in the container, it is work. That separates you from leadership. That will tell you, okay, they definitely are in leadership. It may be hard for them dealing with it, and it's never easy. When you deal with conflicts, it's not like you just get better and better and it's just a breeze. I personally have to keep doing what I need to do in order to protect myself also, because it hurts, either an attack to yourself or to other students or just an attack to the whole group in itself, to where you have to protect everybody. So, it's really, and stepping back, looking at the big picture, and sometimes, we want to protect the ones that have been there for us since the beginning.
Yes.
We have some of those leaders with us that have been there since the beginning. But if they're wrong, or students that are wrong, we have to confront them, whether we like it or not, because then that will make that bond much, much stronger. Or if I know that it's making another student uncomfortable, I have to make sure that they are in a safe space. I don't want them to leave. I want them to come to Hula and learn and be nourished, spiritually, physically, able to deal with your trauma, helping your body. I don't want them to leave my space feeling sick, depleted, defeated. That's not a safe space. That means I am not protecting my people and my students and their families. It could be, and it's a whole thing. And it's that culture. We have this culture as, Ohana, teaching them to be family. I'm not just someone else that you come and take dance classes. We invite you. We invite your husband. We invite your children. We call your mom auntie. We call your dad uncle. It becomes a family. Because then it does take a village to take care of everyone else. But everyone's not perfect, and it's okay. It's okay.
You gave me that advice recently where we had some things coming up and you're like, Adam, this is your family. And then I kind of, yeah. And you're like, no, treat them like family. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's a good reminder, because when we're doing this work, no matter what we're cultivating, I think it's about alignment, understanding. Whenever we're bringing people together for a common vision, mission, purpose, that is Ohana. If we have a shared mission, shared vision, shared purpose, and we're on that together, we're all in that boat.
Yes.
And so we have to treat it like family. So a lot of the things that you're speaking obviously applies not only to your students, but to Sacred Sons in our organization. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
And setting those containers and keeping the container strong.
And once you start thinking of them outside of your family, that's where the problem begins. Because you've already said it to yourself. You're not my family. Yeah?
Yes.
So it's already a problem. And that usually starts within self. So there's already exclusion there. But when you include everybody as part of your family with all their issues and their flaws and whatever, because they're humans,
Yeah. And in Western culture, we have been conditioned in this industrialized, somewhat corporate society where it's cutthroat. It's not very family-like even in school. It's like, these are the people that get the good grades. These are the failures. There's no let's rally and raise everyone up. Yeah. So we're educated in a way to be in competition with one another more than being in collaboration with one another.
And this is where we will step up to change that.
Yes.
This is where we will make the change and not have that happen. Because we can make a difference there. If we excluded certain people, if we did not include them in important things, they're not going to feel welcome. It's different if they need to learn something in order to, a good example is if they have to learn this dance in order to be in that dance. That's different. That's a certain skill they have to work on in order to be in that performance. But I'm not going to exclude them as my family. I'm going to keep working on them until they are able to do it. Because it doesn't matter once they hit the floor that stage, they all have to dance in unison. It doesn't matter who they are. If they're tall, they're short, the color of their skin, their age, their work, how much money they have. It doesn't matter when you're on that floor. You're all the same. Just exactly as what the fires did in Los Angeles. It does not matter. We are all the same. And I think once people start to really internalize that and put that into practice, you're going to be so much better with how you deal with everything else. Because you're not better than me. I'm not better than you. You're my brother. And we will work together. And I look at things that way. We may have challenges, but it's okay. It's okay. We will fix it. We will make sure we will separate you from that situation. So if you don't feel comfortable, you will be in a place of comfort. Those safe spaces are very important for us to provide and to form, especially with the work that we do. Have I had a ton of issues with dancers? Oh, yes. We get them all. But then that's also not understanding how the Hala works upon coming in. So I have to break things down. They have to take certain classes with certain protocols. This is what you need to do with your instruments. This is how you need to make your costumes. These are the things that we have to do when we're out in ceremony. This is what we have to do when we're traveling together for shows and performances. Now that you have a school and you're ready to teach, these are what you have to do too. So it's this continuation of learning and growing as a family. Because now, for the students that I have that are my alakai, that are teaching, they also have a set of problems and issues that they encounter that they call me and ask me questions.
Yes.
And so it's this cycle that
it's generational,
we are gonna be
almost
in. But if we don't nip it quick and deal with that situation, especially when you're confronted many a times, plenty of times, then the issue is not with your people. That becomes an issue with me. That means I am not doing what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. If I'm letting her just run amok in the halau, doing whatever she wants, mistreating the dancers, treating them like crap, and not being just a good sister or a good brother, and I just watch and stay quiet, that's shame on me for letting that happen. So protecting your space, something that you work so hard for, especially if you've been teaching for years and years and years, don't have one, or two, destroy the whole container.
Yeah.
It may be destroyed, but your lesson will start from that. You're going to learn from that. I had to learn from that. If I don't deal with it, I'm going to learn from it. Most definitely. I may lose some dancers. That's even harder because I know how much investment they've put in. So yeah, if I didn't protect them and they're leaving, that's going to hurt me. That means I didn't protect them. So that's with everything. That also happens with my family, my immediate family, with my children.
Yes, not only are you a kumu and a teacher, you're also a mother.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You're also a wife.
Yes. We have work at home also, So, and our children, they're the ones that watch. It's the younger ones. If you see the younger ones, they are watching. They're going to watch
Always.
you. They're going to absorb everything that you do. And so it's really important, the integrity of leadership and your space, the container that you protect, and outside protecting the inside. You don't want that. You don't want outside negative energies, when the mana is disrupted. And this is the thing, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it as soon as you enter a space. You're gonna feel that. No words need to be said. That's how strong energy is.
Absolutely. What I'm taking away from this is that the healing through dance, it's not only about the individual who heals through the movement of the body and through the protocol and through the life lessons, but it's really about healing the container and through that healing the collective.
Yes.
So what this allows us to do through the humility with respect is it's a collective healing. That's what I'm hearing in this, and especially with the dance as the art form, bringing a collective healing in unison. There's something really special about that, and it's not all confrontation. It's not all conflict, of course. I would love to talk a little bit about the chanting. We got to wake up early mornings out in the Olympic Peninsula together and sing Hala, awaken and arise, and really meet the day anew. And sharing our voice and calling that rising sun and honoring that rising sun. There's something that's so beautiful with the simplicity of that, but also the collective voices, even if you're learning the song for the first time.
Yes. And it's really interesting because we make it complicated. It's really simple. We don't have to make it very complicated, and that's a lot of the trouble. They just make things so much more complicated. Keep things simple. Tend to yourself, tend to your body, because when you are imbalanced as a human being, meaning you're not getting enough rest, you're not getting enough nourishment, your mind is everywhere, your space is everywhere. When you do not tend to self first, it's a reflection. You're gonna see, it's gonna come out somewhere. You're gonna take it out on someone when you don't have enough rest. When you don't have enough nourishment, you're weak. You're not gonna be able to go through the drills. You're dying in the corner. That means you're not nourishing yourself properly. So when there is issues coming up, a person has to really step back and have that personal reflection and see, what's going on. And I would tell them that, what's going on with you? And be real, because it's going to come up again. What is really happening? And it may take you some time to pull it out of them because of personality. Somebody might be very, this is what's happening. And, vocal, very vocal. Somebody may feel very scared to even talk to you or just to even be in your presence. Yeah? So they're going to close up. What's wrong? Nothing. There's something wrong. No, I'm okay. I'm okay, Kumu. But they're not. So there's a way for you also to try to talk to them. Maybe you have to change your voice or, maybe an embrace may even, just let them release that. And then it comes out. But you have to address, certain situations with different personality traits also. So that's important.
Yeah. I learn about this so much with my children. It's like trying to understand what's happening, whether that's through a tantrum, a conflict, they didn't get the yogurt they wanted, whatever that thing is, and trying to meet that in a creative and a way that allows someone to be open, and someone to actually relax into the invitations that we're giving. Do you feel like the chanting You're going to hear my kids crying because they're getting in the
That's
bathtub
okay.
after school.
They are good.
While we're talking about it, Mama's trying to get them in the bath after school. And that's the challenge going on in my house right now, folks. Do you feel like chanting, singing these songs do you feel like using your voice through song has given you confidence to speak your truth, to speak the things that need to be said?
So I didn't realize until I started chanting. So, it's a practice for one. And when I chant, or when I start to chant, I transform. I don't even feel like I'm Kumu Annalisa. I feel like it's a whole different person when I start chanting. It's really hard to explain. I cannot explain it, but as soon as I start to chant, I transform. And the prayers, and I really think about the prayers and the songs and what I'm chanting about or embodying. And the confidence that I feel that's medicine. There is so much medicine in chanting. It's almost, it's so deep. It's very, very hard to explain, when you start to chant and these songs come out. And when you're explaining or you're chanting these songs, it's the embodiment and who you become. Yeah. And what you transform to. And then after your song, naturally coming back to who you are, And it is a practice. I love chanting. I think it's so powerful. It's a beautiful gift. And the songs and the prayers are so potent. The medicine is so potent. It cuts through your soul. I feel like it penetrates deeper than anything when you are in prayer and in ceremony. And a kupuna chants, and you hear those prayers, you feel it. You feel it. You feel those prayers. Even without understanding what they're chanting about, or, you feel it because it goes with other people and other cultures that also chant. There is something to it that is deeper and mysterious,
Would you be willing, when we get to the close, to close us out with a chant? Maybe a prayer for Los Angeles, a prayer for the folks who are listening, whatever feels called to come through. Let's close out with it. Would that be okay?
Yeah, we'll close out.
We'll close out with it. Thank you. Is there a message that you have in this time for folks who may be going through it, for folks who may be thriving and shining, but we're still all a part of this same planet, and collectively there is just an energy coming through of, there's been so much devastation from the fires in Maui a couple of years ago, and now in Los Angeles, the floods this year, in Asheville, North Carolina. There seems to be this acceleration happening on our planet right now. Is there any specific message or prayer that you would like to put out?
Well, what I really would like to tell everyone else, if there's a message that I would love for everyone else, is to get in there and help. Community is so important. When you're by yourself and you're just taking care of self, there's no community there. As you know, there are so many homes that have been lost. So we have to get back into basics, either helping people rebuild one home at a time, one family at a time, helping them out with food, especially if you're financially well off, help out. It doesn't take much. And if you don't want to do that financially, be a helping hand. Yeah. There are lots of things that you can do individually to make a difference. Even with food, what are the bare necessities in life? It goes back to that. Clean water, nourishing food, medicine, emotional support, physical support, movement, your talents. You're a talented person. Get out there and share what you can do and what you are able to do. Help make changes, different movements as we are trying to help and push rebuilding Fireproof. Come on. It makes sense for us to build with natural, safe things, with earth. Let's not put that back. We've already seen the damage that it's done. Within self, take care of yourself in order to serve other people. If you are burning yourself out, you're not going to be able to be of service. And you are going to get a lot more when you are of service instead of just thinking of self.
Isn't that interesting how it happens?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, they don't even know how to get started.
Yeah.
There's not enough community to even, know the ways. And that's, sometimes when these bigger tragic things happen, people feel a sense of not knowing how best to be of service.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's something that we as community and through our different ways and teachings, we get to relearn these things and build community so that it's personal.
Yes.
Sometimes the world feels so far away from us.
It really does.
But it's like our neighbors right there and maybe unwilling or not able to ask for help,
Yeah.
These type of things. So
Yeah.
this is why community is important, because then we have all of these means and ways of being of service that are right there and it's personal.
Yes. One of my dancers lost her other half, her spouse, in this fire in Topanga. And it was so big, this news for all of us. The only thing we were able to do immediate together as a halau was bring her a ton of flowers, bring her food, because we know she wasn't going to be shopping for food and going through what she was going through, grieving. So it's simple things like that we can do together, and when you call community together and work it's so powerful, so powerful. So I hope with what I send out there as a message and my next move in life, is literally getting out there, helping people build their homes. Literally, like we have to get out there with our hands and help people get structures up, and hopefully our message of community, of service, of love, not being selfish, only thinking of self. When you think of self, that's going to get you in trouble. You're not going to get very far. And nature has a way of being selfish with you when you do the same thing. So be generous, because it comes back to you so many times. And I truly believe that. I truly believe that.
That's the reciprocity. The natural law, And, I find in that, like when you give of service, it not only does it come back around, but it comes back around threefold and tenfold,
So much.
Gratitude and service are force multipliers. It only builds more, right? Wonderful. We have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
We have a lot of work to do.
I'm really excited for Remembrance 2. We have a lot of work to do. And I think it's beautiful of you inviting the feminine. And it's powerful. And I am sure there's going to be growing pains, but that's part of it. If it didn't, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, there's got to be a little bit of struggle for anything worthwhile.
Yes, for anything.
Nothing that comes easy is ever, that great. But within that challenge and within this opportunity, I feel like bringing men and women together, it is the future of this healing work.
Yes.
For thousands of years, women have circled up and had the red tents, and men have gone off and done the hunting and done the gathering in that way. And we're in a time where the alignment of the men and the women is being called upon. Like, we have to do this work together. We have to really see each other in it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what remembrance allows us to do.
Yes.
And remembrance too, our theme that you brought through is seeds of change.
Yes.
And so it's like, these fires have burned away so much.
Plant your seeds.
And now it's time for that soil to be regenerated, to be nourished. And then once the soil is prepared and the water has been brought, now it's time to plant those seeds and to watch those sprouts come alive anew. And this is also the cycle of life. And I feel like there's a lot of, spiritual talk about a new earth and these type of things. And we have to plant the seeds for the new earth, right? For the new possibilities.
I agree. And teaching the young children.
Yes, that was one of my favorite parts from Remembrance. You teaching them not only the songs, but like my kids and the other keiki that were there making the drums out of rocks and sticks and keeping the rhythm. That was so sweet.
And just teaching the young, because they are going to be the ones taking care of us. And it's important. It's important for the children to be taught today. And as simple as planting a seed. Plant your little plants and maybe a favorite fruit, or, it's so much more rewarding. So, and same, it goes with everything else. The change, it's going to be the change.
And you're also calling in not only the planting of these seeds, but a seed exchange. I thought this was a really beautiful offering. So just sending out to the brothers and sisters who are going to be joining us for Remembrance too, bring your seeds.
Bring your seeds. We will have a certain area where we will be exchanging. So bring your seeds. I would love to share some of mine with you, and it will be very exciting. And the following year, I would like to see what everybody have grown, that would be a good conversation. So. Okay.
Kumu.
Yes.
Anaisa. With that, is there any final message, any prayer, chant, song that you would like to bring through and leave for the brothers and sisters who are listening?
Yes. So, I would really recommend everyone else to take care of self so you could be present. And I would like to share my favorite aloha chant. It is just in gratitude is what I really feel today being a part of this. Aloha e kala e kaua e nei. Kala punono I ka maka o ka lehua. Uahi o lani pele. Ua mahali e. E nawe I ke e na ka poki e. E aloha e. E ala e. E aloha e. E ala e. E aloha e. E ala e. E pele e. Mahalo, Branko, for having me join you today.
Yes. Mahalo, aloha, the songs, the chants, the prayers, the movement, and the ceremony.
Yes.
Kumu, thank you for bringing this ceremony and this essence to remembrance. I also want to say thank you for the altar. This is something as Sacred Sons I was saying, as men, we get together, we do beautiful things, but you actually brought beauty into the space. And now I see my brothers building altars. I see my sons building altars because of that, what they witnessed and how you enrolled them to help in building it. And they were learning as we built it, and just the way that you bring beauty into our space. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for this connection. And there's more magic to come.
Hello, Uncle. Thank you so much.
Yes. All right.
Soon.
With that,
soon.
If you would like to join us, Remembrance 2, go to sacredsons.com. Tickets are on sale. We will probably do this again, maybe one more time before Remembrance. We'll see what the seasons are bringing. Until then, Kumu, Liza Kalauokekupukupu, Adam Jackson, Sacred Sons. We are out, family. Peace.